Hello awesome learners there, welcome to Naukri Learning, and this is Amit. Today's video it is going to be very fantastic because we'll be learning lot of other things about web, how the basic things work, how HTML is used in web, how CSS can be very helpful in making your websites absolutely fantastic from a very bare bone structure to very colorful websites. And definitely in this video you will get all that head start that is needed for you to master these concepts yourself, and believe me, this will be an awesome session. Also at the end there will be one home task. I want you to build that for me, and if you learn the video, if you learn the concept, if you learn each and every point, then please hit the like button and then subscribe to the channel, and definitely don't forget to tap on the bell icon so that you do not miss any other notifications. Okay, so before we jump into all the contents, let me introduce myself. There is a very basic introduction about what I do, where I do, and what are my small hobbies. If you want to contact me, I have given my LinkedIn profile, so you can definitely contact me whenever you feel stuck. Let's start. So at the very first, I just wanted to discuss what exactly is the roadmap of a web engineer, or if you want to be a web developer, then what should you be learning, and what are the paths you should take. So the definitely the very basic of the web is HTML. That is a must. If you do not know HTML, it is very difficult to know further. It is very difficult to understand how other things work. So HTML is a must. Along with HTML, I would recommend to learn CSS. This CSS is mostly related to stylings, and HTML is basically the bare bone. We'll definitely deep dive into it after we almost master. I mean, I do not say that you have to be master of each and every tags or each and every selectors of HTML and CSS. You should dive into JavaScript. This is a programming language. Don't worry, although the title is HTML and CSS, I'll dive a little bit into JavaScript also, because this is the exact beauty of web. This is an language, and also after you master all these three, this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then I would recommend to learn one framework. It can be either React, it can be Angular, or it can be Vue also. Most of the companies or most of the websites that you see currently in production, those have been made using some of the frameworks. It can be React, it can be Angular, it can be Vue.js, or any other. It can be Ember. React is basically developed and supported by Facebook, and Angular is actively supported by Google. After you learn these three things, one is HTML, two is CSS, and after you master JavaScript very well, this should be very important. I mean, your programming should be literally very important. After you learn JavaScript, then you should focus on these frameworks. This is the fourth step. And after you learn one framework, then this is your fifth possibility. Then you have to choose where you want to go. You can go to front end, you can be a back-end developer as well, and a full stack also. Let's get started. So VS Code is one of my favorite, and not only mine, it's like almost everyone's favorite code editor. So I'll show you how we can install it. We shall simply go to Google Chrome. We'll search VS Code. Let's download VS Code. After we'll click on this first link. This is coming from Microsoft. Check your configuration and download the correct file. I'll download the 64-bit. Here it has prompted me for the download. Okay, let's save somewhere. Okay, so it has downloaded and I'll simply click on it. I'll just install. We have to create a desktop icon. Oh, please check all these things. It is available in the desktop, so you can definitely click from the desktop. Double click here. Here we also want to install one extension. The name of the extension is live server. Simply we'll search live server. This one is the correct one. So I already have installed it, so I do not need to install. But if you do not have this live server extension, you might need to install it. Before we get very deep detailed into the HTML details, let us know how basic web works. Okay, for example, we want to access this website. This is simply google.com. Okay, and also from this google.com we want to get some response. We want to know how this thing works. So we have two things, one is front and another is back. So let us dive deep into how the request is parsed. So at the very first we will send this request to Google server. So then this server checks the request, it sends you some response. This response is nothing but one HTML file along with its stylings, CSS, and also some JavaScript from our mobile or computer or smartwatch. We are requesting this and Google server serves us the file. That is why they are called server, because they are serving this HTML along with CSS and JavaScript definitely. These browsers then check, okay, now I have received this HTML file along with its CSS and JavaScript, so I'll parse it, I'll render it. This HTML is then rendered. Okay, so after it actually is rendered, we see the beautiful web pages. So since we have done basic webs or how web works, we'll deep dive into HTML. HTML is the skeleton of web pages. It is the basic structure, or let's say building block. For this purpose, let's take an example. Let's take a car. This car is our website. So this car is built using wheels, chassis, doors, windows, glass, etc. These each and every block, they are coming from HTML. And what is the building block of HTML? The tags. But then what exactly CSS? CSS will say what should be my wheel size, what should be the color of my doors or paint color. So these are the styling things, like the colorfulness, the beauty. It is taken care by CSS. HTML tags. This HTML tag starts from this. Then we have a tag name. So basically this is a starting tag, and if we want to end something, then again very similar with a backslash, same tag name, and end. And inside this thing is called inner HTML. Inside this tag also we can create some buttons, we can create image or anything. There are other type of tags which are self-closing. What are self-closing tags? They are like this image. They do not have any other this type of tag so that it can end. No, they do not have. This is wrong. Like this image, it is self-closing. But this section, it is not self-closing. It is the end of this section. And this is the starting. Inside this section, we have written some HP tags. These H tags, they are known as heading. P stands for paragraph. And one more thing that I definitely wanted to mention are these smaller properties. These are called attribute. So what are attributes? In HTML, for example, we have a tag. We have a tag of button. But we do not know what to do with that button. That can submit something, that can be clicked to do something else also. So for that purpose, we use these attributes to specify what is the action. So in this case section, we're saying that the class attribute of this section tag is abstract. This is the value. Class is the property name. Abstract is the value. In this case, abstract in quotation. This is value. We have a property, or what we are calling it as attribute. And for that, we have a value. We had created index.html with a very basic boilerplate HTML code. Here you can see HTML tag, which is the starting tag of HTML. This is the HTML starting tag. This is the HTML ending tag. That means the web page has ended. And there are two more things inside this HTML. There is something called head tag. So we also have head and body. So HTML also has a head, also a body. So this head tag is for some metadata. We can provide some metadata for the web page. What type of page is this? And also we can link our CSS style sets inside head. That I'll show later. But let me introduce you to some very basic HTML tags. So one of the very basic HTML tag that you may encounter is heading. So all the heading tags. H1 is one type of heading, and in this heading if we write HTML and CSS, and also after this heading if you want to write a paragraph, this is the paragraph, HTML, and we want to render, we want to see how this is looking. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply right click here, open with live server. You remember I have installed this live server, definitely will allow access. And see, we have this HTML and CSS. This HTML and CSS are bigger because these are heading, and HTML is the backbone, or this paragraph text is small. You understand from the books. So basically HTML is a type of markup language. We can mark up lot of things, like we can make something italic, we can underline something, we can make it something bigger heading, we can write a paragraph, or we can give some subheadings also. All those things we can give. If we want to put a smaller subheading, let's take it H3. This is a subheading. Okay. See, this HTML is not very thin like this paragraph text, but slightly thicker. So this is a main heading. This is a smaller subheading. You can use it for subheadings. Sometimes we want to break the line. So how can you do that? For that we can use this tag BR. BR stands for break. Here if you do this many line breaks in this HTML file, then it doesn't care. HTML doesn't know that you are providing an enter or any plain white space. So you need to use this BR tag for new line. See, this is in the new line. This is the new line. We also can provide ordered lists or unordered lists. So how do we do that? So in case of ordered list, what we can write, and inside this ordered list we need to put this link li tags. This is number 1, then another li, this is number 2, like that. See, these 1 2 are ordered lists, and this has been. In many cases we need to provide some buttons, and the button name can be start learning. You can see how the button is start learning. Okay, so now let us just get to some attributes. So one very basic example of attribute can be the one input tag. So from web page we take a lot of inputs from user. It can be username, it can be password, it can be a slider, it can be anything. So for example, if we want to put an input, here we can name, let's say, placeholder username. All right. See, we have a username as a, and if we can name something. If we want to change the input type as password, see, we cannot now see the numbers or the letters. That's how we can change the property of that particular tag using different attributes. Okay, so since we have got a little bit of understanding of HTML and its tags, so let us dive deep into CSS. So we use this mostly for styling, animation, then alignment, beautification. Like we have HTML tags as the very basic building blocks. In case of CSS, we have selectors, and selectors means what? So we will take that particular tag and then we style it according to our will. For example, if we want to style one input tag with class name username, then we can definitely do that. So there are 4 types of selectors. Class selector, which starts with a small dot and then the class name. And also the syntax is we start and end the curly braces, and here we write our rules. In case of ID selector, we provide this has ID name, same the curly braces, and here are our rules. If we want to style a particular tag name, all the divs I want to style, then we will simply write the tag name and then curly braces the rule. It can be div, it can be paragraph or p tag, or it can be anything. And there are few pseudo elements. What are pseudo elements or pseudo styling? These are something related to the particular tag. If there is a button and we want to change the style when it is hovered, so these type of elements can also be styled using CSS. So there are 2 ways we can style. One is called inline styling, and the second, we can definitely put our dedicated style sheet. How to create a dedicated style sheet? We will simply here create another file, style.css. We also have to connect this style sheet. How can we connect that? So here we'll use one link tag, link css. So this style sheet and style.css is our own file. No problem. Let's style this heading 1. Here, since this is a class-based selector, we provide a dot and then the class name. The class name was heading 1, and then the rules. Let's change font size. Font size 60 pixels. See, now it has changed. It has become very big. We want to change the color red. See, now my color of HTML and CSS has become red. Now let's do a tag selection. What we want to do, we want to change all these H4 styles. So since this is a tag name, we are writing the tag name H4. Let's change the font size to be 32 pixel. PX stands for pixel. There are different units like EM, REM. We are using pixel. The font size is 32 pixel, and let me put the color, but let me give a blue. See, this all H4 has been changed. Now let's do a ID selection. How we can do that? So I want to change this paragraph. I'm giving an ID paragraph 1. This paragraph 1 I want to change. So in case of ID selector, remember we have to use as paragraph 1. And here also I just want to change the font size. Okay, 24 pixels. It should be smaller than the heading at least. Okay, now my this paragraph has changed. So I want to change the color. Let's make it some green. It has now become green. So that's how we can change the styles of elements. And now I just wanted to go a little deeper into JavaScript so that at least you get the feeling of how JavaScript actually works. So JavaScript basically is a programming language. All modern browsers can run JavaScript. What makes it very popular, what makes it very essential for browsers? So browsers only understand JavaScript. They do not understand C++ or anything. Although at the end the JS compiler converts the code into C++, but browser understands JavaScript. Alright. So let me just show you how we can connect our JavaScript file the same way we have connected our CSS file into the HTML. So for the purpose, I will just create one JavaScript file. I'm naming it as script.js and I want to connect the JavaScript file in the HTML. What I can do at the very bottom, just before my body tag closes, I'll just add one more tag, script source, and the source attribute should take my JavaScript URL or JavaScript file location. Using this dot and slash, we give relative URL. So I have connected my JavaScript file. All the programming languages we have print comment, right? So in case of JavaScript, we have console. So console.log hello JavaScript. And JavaScript code ends with semicolon, and we'll check whether it is coming or not. See, inside this console, we have seen hello JavaScript. Now, if we want to change something in the heading, we had this heading with the class name of heading 1 and HTML and CSS. So using JavaScript, we want to change the heading. How can we do that? For that purpose, let us create a new button. A button, change heading. And I'm giving the class name as, or let's say ID as change button. I want to take this button into a JavaScript file so that JavaScript understands in a variable that we want to take change button equal to document. Document is our main HTML document. So document is an object. Within that object, we have all the elements. So document.get element by ID, it is a method in the document object. And what we want to do, like change button should be the ID. And also the heading, heading is also a variable, and we want to take that heading into our JavaScript so that JavaScript understands this is the tag that we want to take care. Class name, using class name also we can use document. For this purpose, I am using query selector. Is also another method. Using the same we can query or we can take the element. So there is a dot in front of the name. The JavaScript have understood heading and change button. Now we want to introduce a little very small JavaScript function. So how we can write function? This is the function change heading. I'm giving the name as change heading. Here we want to change heading dot inner text new HTML and CSS. But the button doesn't know that it has to run on click. So we will add some event listener or a very basic thing. Change button dot add event listener. What is the event? Click event. So after the click event happens in this button, this change heading, this function should be called. If we click on it, then this change heading function runs. And let's see whether it is working or not. So change heading is the button, and carefully see, when we clicked on the button, then my this thing changed. Or that's how the pages can be made very interactive, like button click on slide or any other interaction that we can do. So this is a very introduction of JavaScript. For the project purpose, I want to give a home task. There is a very basic layout. You have to build this layout. You can use whatever color you like. This is one of the fundamental layout that you can create. So possibly you can use display grid or display flex, whatever styling. Go research on your own and see how you can create this beautiful layout. Coming to some resources, I would definitely suggest to go read W3 School, which is essentially the very basic beginner friendly website. There is a big developers group from MDN or Mozilla Developers Network. It is made by developers. There are pretty good developers who maintain the code base, and there are a couple of YouTube channels that I have mentioned here. You can definitely go through. There is also another Udemy course by Coach Tilly, and the name of the course is the Web Developers Bootcamp 2022. This course is pretty good. I have enjoyed the course pretty well. So I'll definitely recommend that you look for offers. So Udemy gives very good offers. But if you do not want to purchase, then also these resources are extremely helpful. Okay, so that's it for today. Possibly, I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial very well. And if yes, don't forget to like, share the channel, subscribe, and comment the section that you like the most. I'll definitely be replying to the comments. And also, do not forget to ping me with the layout design that I have given as a home task.